How's it going, everybody? Spooky here. Today you'll be learning about everything you need to know about sand crabs and range. So, a sand crab ranged guide. So the first thing you need to know is the location of sand crabs. Real quick, they are south of Hasidius. They are also in the Crab Claw Caves, which are unlocked during the Depths of Despair quest. And a quick note, if you want to access the 4 sand crabs spot in the cave, you cannot finish the Depths of Despair quest. Just a quick note. And lastly, you can go to Crabclaw Isle for the price of 10,000 GP, or if you have completed easy or medium diaries, it's 5k. So if you're wondering how to get there, I recommend watching the video listed below. It's a very quick guide, but if you just want a quick reference point, all you need to do is teleport to the Woodcutting Guild with the skills necklace and run east and then south. So when talking about armor for killing sand crabs with range and getting the best range experience, the armor is pretty intuitive. You just want to use the best range attack and strength boosting gear that you have. So this would include things like dragon hide armor, a koi for Robin Hood hat, Book of Law. You probably get the idea. And you also want to emphasize range strength bonus as much as possible. That's going to be the biggest contributor to your best experience rates. After that, if you happen to be a low defense account that may be taking damage, you will want to prioritize crush defense, but that's not that important for most people. So addressing weapons, you certainly have the option to use whatever weapon you want. However, I prefer something like Myth Darts because they're extremely cheap and they can give you very good experience rates. However, you could choose to upgrade to something like Adamant Darts, and you are going to pay more GP, but you will certainly get better experience rates. A cheap alternative to both of these is a bow and crossbow if you're very low on GP, but you still want to get range experience. And lastly, regarding weapons, you never want to use something like a blowpipe or poison darts, because the extra venom or poison, although it kills the crabs faster, it's actually taking away from your experience per hour, so you actually don't want to do that. Next, we'll move on to inventory. If you have an account with reasonably high defense, say anything over 30 or 40, you can get by with just taking all range potions. You really don't need any food or anything else. Maybe a teleport out, but that's not likely because you can just do a home teleport if you really need to. And if you don't have defense, say you're a 1 defense pure or just a low defense account in general, I recommend taking lots of potions, but also a fair amount of food. So something like a 2-to-1 ratio of potions to food. Next, we'll talk about experience rates. The most that you can get at sand crabs with only 3 crabs I found was 53k experience per hour. So the account that I'm using is 93 range and I was potted up, and I was running out of crabs fairly often. So I would just have downtime where my character wasn't getting any experience. So if you are something near 93 range, or you're just using better gear at a lower range level and you're getting over 53,000 experience per hour, then I recommend making sure you're at a 4 crab spot or moving on to something like Ammonite crabs. So that will wrap it up. Now I'm just going to include a few helpful tips. The first helpful tip is that you should probably use Ammonite crabs as soon as you're willing to, and that's just because they have better drops, better experience rates, and at certain locations they have less competition, whereas with sand crabs they are easily accessible and there are always going to be tons of people competing for them. The next tip is that you should use a DPS calculator if you're not sure which armor setup is going to give you the best experience rates. So this is useful because you don't have to actually test things by hand. You don't have to spend an hour with one gear setup and an hour with another one. You can just plug your armor and your weapon into a DPS calculator, and by using that, it will just give you a damage per second calculation, and it's just really useful. I just really recommend using that. The next tip is the most important one probably, which is that you should use the NPC aggression timer plugin if you're using RuneLite. And the reason this is so helpful is because you won't have to run around aimlessly trying to figure out whether or not you are resetting your aggression. I think we all know the pain of that. And lastly, I just want to say I hope that I have earned your like. I put a lot of thought into this video and I try to keep it as short as possible. So thank you guys for watching, and if you're still watching and you're still interested in learning more about crabs, I recommend checking below you can find a link that will show you the 5 best plugins that you should be using while killing crabs. I've spent hundreds of hours killing crabs and I have learned quite a few things, so I recommend checking those out if you want to speed up your experience rates and just make your life a little bit easier. So once again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.